G'day, I'm Ian Simpson. I was born here in 1958 and that was the lovely Narrial Valley where I was born. And my father and grandfather have been farming belted Galloway cattle here for some years now.
G'day, Steve Wilson here, and I'm with Emma Gillette, nee Simpson, Ian's daughter, and his brother Ray Simpson. So, Emma, you grew up with Ian making concertinas. What's your recollections of him making concertinas?
Yeah, so even from a very young age, I was always in the workshop with Dad. That was my favourite place to be as a young kid. And I'd be always in the back kind of making things in my doll's house. I remember making little baths and little, beds and all sorts of things. And he'd be, in and out helping me. And then always, in the background, and there'd always be the sounds of the reeds, testing everything and the same note over and over, and the tuner going back and forth. But I think the strongest memory is the animal glue. So he was always made everything from scratch, absolutely everything, and including killing the kangaroos himself and then taking the tail, and the tail has a lot of cartilage in it. He would melt that down and boil it up and create the glue that he used for the bellows, because he said it was the best glue to use. And so he would always have this pot of glue. It had to always be heated in order to use it. And I've still got the pot, and I don't know what I'm ever going to do with it. But the smell is just, it's very distinct odour of the animal glue. And he'd always make the concertinas during winter because we're too busy on the farm during the summer. So it was always, the stove was just behind him, and he had his swivel chair, and he would just go to the stove, get the glue, and he'd turn around, and there was his reed bench with the accordion underneath to test the reeds.
The bellows.
The bellows, yep. And and all the little bits and pieces that he needed, like his screws and his files and his, Dremels and whatever else, but every single thing was done by hand. And then you kind of turn and you're over on the lathe bench, and he always, used to teach me I was always the cleaner. So I'd be cleaning underneath the lathe, and I'd be looking for the little spirals of metal that came off, and I'd collect those and make things out of them. But he did absolutely everything. So every single screw he's made on the lathe, and he's turned it individually. He cut every single piece of these out, so there's no laser cutting or anything like that. It's all done by hand. Would have been weeks and weeks just to cut out the pieces. I've got all of them, actually, the little pieces. I used to make pictures out of them and arrange them. Some of them look like different faces and things because they've all got a hole in them from where they drilled first. And I just used to love spending time making things with him. That's,
So, thanks. So, Ray, what do you think actually motivated Ian to start making concertinas?
Well, Dad had a concertina, and my grandfather had a concertina in the Narrial band. We wanted a concertina once we found out how easy it was to play, because it's a button accordion cut in half. You've got half on this side and half on this side. That makes it easier, you see. Well, I've got my first concertina was a Lashnell Turo. Ian sourced one locally here from up in the mountains in a place called Cancoban. They weren't really that good. We needed a 3-row so we could play all the other tunes in different keys. I went to England and bought 3 Jeffreys. Well, now Ian hasn't got a very good concertina, so he's going to make one. He's a tool maker by trade. He can do that. And he did it, and did a fine job. Yeah. There you go.
Yeah. And
that's number 5.
That's one of his concertinas right there.
Yeah.
And
there's his trademark, the S for Simpson.
Yeah, do you want to just bring that up to the camera a little bit more?
You see that?
That's great.
Another one of his specialties was to make a hexagonal screw there.
Oh yes.
It screws into metal and not wood, so that's good.
Good. So, how did he go about teaching himself to make a concertina?
Basically relied on his tool making skills, pulled other concertinas apart to see how they were made and copied them, and each time he made one, he improved it a little bit. A fellow named Noel Hill from Ireland came to Australia and played at the National Folk Festival in Canberra, and we asked him to give us an opinion on what he thought, and he said, try and improve the voicing so it responds much better. So that became what made his concertinas much better, was to improve that, and he did that in fine style.
So what about the reeds? How did he go about making those?
Well, he did some research and he found out that clock springs were actually the perfect thing to make reeds out of. I found a surveyor's measuring tape which was in chains and links and superfluous now, no good to anyone, and that was pretty heavy duty and pretty good to make reeds out of that. Nice spring steel.
I thought it might be worth mentioning that it took him about 2 years to make one concertina. So he would do 2 winters worth and spend, probably 8 months of solid work to make one. It didn't really sell them at a profitable kind of amount to actually make up for that, and given the length of time, meant that he only ever made 5 in his whole lifetime.
Once you find out there's a concertina maker, he becomes a concertina repairer, you see, so that kept him busy as well.
Yeah.
Oh, he would have repaired English concertinas,
He did,
would he?
yeah.
Did a lot of repair. A lot of people would send him concertinas from all over the world, actually. A lot from Europe would come and send them to him. He'd fix them and return them. So that was probably, he got a lot more income through that, cash flow through that, than actually selling concertinas.
Didn't mention that we are at the Nariel Festival with the Nariel Creek.
Nariel Creek Folk Festival, there's the Nariel Creek.
Yeah.
And he was a personality at the festival right through, I think. He probably came here as a kid himself, is that the case?
Well,
Yes.
as a kid, we were born into this. We were at the first folk festival they ever had 64 years ago, and we needed shade out there, so we planted all those big Canadian poplars when we were kids, me and Dad and Ian and a few other guys from town. Oh, they're 50 metres high now.
Yeah.
Yes, yeah. Oh, it's magnificent here, yes,
Yeah.
yes. Tell me finally about memorial construction you've done here.
In
The Ian seats.
Ian's seat, where he had sessions at every festival, he had a campfire, which he kept going for hours into the night, and anyone could come and play, mostly Irish tunes, of course.
Yeah.
So in his name, we've made a hexagonal campfire with slate in a hexagonal shape and hexagonal seating around there for the session players, and it's working brilliantly well.
Okay, well, thank you, Emma. Thank you, Ray,
Thank you very much.
for your insight into Ian's concertina making achievements.